What's up, everybody? Welcome back to part 5 of my Amanda Knox book review, waiting to be heard. Her New York Times bestseller book about her time spent in Italy for being falsely imprisoned for a crime she didn't commit. Now, before we jump into it here, make sure you go follow Amanda on all her social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter. She has a podcast on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. She has a Patreon account where she gives special perks to people that sign up. I definitely recommend signing up to her Patreon account. Support the author, subscribe to her podcast, subscribe to her Patreon, follow her on Twitter, all that good stuff. It's been a minute since I've been able to get out a book review video. There's so much crazy stuff going on in the world right now, but these are honestly my favorite things to do, so we're going to get one out here today, and we're going to jump right into it. Taking off where I left off with part 4, this is part 5, here we go. Amanda talks about how she was told she tested positive for HIV, and that the doctor said afterwards, "Don't worry about it, it could be a mistake. We need to do more tests." Amanda talks about how the guy she had to meet at 8 p.m. every night, the guy that was inappropriate to her every time that they met, said with her, even after she tested positive for HIV, that he said, "Don't worry, I'll still have sex with you. Promise me you'll have sex with me." What a disgusting human being. Oh, and the doctors didn't tell her for 2 months that she was actually negative for HIV. You think that would be something that they would put a rush order on if they actually thought she was HIV positive? I don't believe for a second that they thought she was HIV positive. I believe it was just another tactic they were using to try and break Amanda while she was in prison. At one point, the prison told Amanda that they were going to search her room, her cell. So they went up there and they spread out all her papers and her documents. They wanted to confiscate anything that had her handwriting on it. She thinks they just wanted to see what she was thinking and then leak it to the press, which is exactly what they did. She moves on to November 18th to 29th, 2007. Amanda talks about how she saw on the news that there was now a 4th suspect in the murder. And it wasn't Amanda, Patrick, or Raffaele. There was now someone new. They found a bloody handprint on Meredith's pillowcase. Then she found out the next day his name was Rudy Guede. Amanda talks about how she met with him twice before, and they were under ordinary circumstances. There was nothing strange about him at the time. He just seemed like any other guy. Amanda talks about how on November 20th, German police found Rudy Guede where he fled on November 3rd, the day after Meredith's body was discovered. So Rudy Guede fled to Germany the day after Meredith's body was found. Rudy claimed that he was at the villa the night of the murder, but he was in the bathroom when it happened. He states he tried to get involved, he tried to intervene, but he wasn't able. He stated that Amanda had nothing to do with this. Rudy stated he had fought a male and she wasn't there that night. Neither was Patrick. He states that the guy was Italian because they insulted each other. When his friends asked him if it was Raffaele, the one from the TV, Rudy says, "I think so, but I'm not sure." This was all said during a Skype conversation that Rudy had with a friend before he was arrested. Rudy states right away that Amanda and Patrick had nothing to do with this crime. Rudy Guede went on to state that he tried to help Meredith, trying to soak up her blood with the towels, but when he realized there was nothing he could do, he was afraid because he was black, he would get condemned for the crime that he committed. In all fairness, now, that's a pretty fair statement. Amanda's lawyers believe that Rudy was probably in the middle of robbing the apartment when Meredith came home, so he attacked her. Now that is also definitely a believable scenario. Rudy was in the middle of robbing their home, Meredith came home, and that's when he attacked and killed her. December 2007. Amanda talks about how she wanted to have another meeting with the prosecutors, but her lawyers thought it was a bad idea. that they would try to pin more things on her, but she thought it was a way to explain her side of things to him, because the first time she did it, it didn't go well. She didn't even understand who he was at the time. States many times in this book that she had no idea who he was, who she was talking to originally, thought he was the mayor just based on how they were describing him. She originally thought that he was somebody that was going to be able to help her. Obviously, it turned out that he was not. On page 234 of Amanda Knox's book, she talks about something that she wrote that was confiscated and later put in the press. She writes about what she wrote, then shows what the press actually printed, and it couldn't be more different. They were obviously twisting her words. Maybe it wasn't even the media that was twisting the words. Maybe it was the police that changed it before they gave it to the media, because clearly they wanted Amanda for this crime at any and all costs. It could have very well been the media twisting it as well, but somebody, the media, the police, somebody were twisting what she wrote to fit the narrative that she was the killer, when she was clearly not. She skips ahead to January to May 2008. Amanda talks about how the prosecution stated they had evidence that Meredith's bra had been cut off her body, slicing a strip of fabric that included part of the clasp, and they stated that Raffaele's DNA was on the clasp. States how the press also reported that a bloody footprint was found in Foxy Knox's bedroom. Amanda stated it was 22 months before they found out how the forensic team made those mistakes. Amanda talks about how the prosecution constantly leaked information to the press before her lawyers even got it to make her look guilty. It was clearly a trial by media. They were leaking everything that they could to try and twist it to make it look like Amanda was guilty. Generally, the press doesn't get information before the defense lawyers do, but the prosecution in this case made sure everything was out there that pointed to Amanda Knox's guilt to fit their narrative. Amanda talks about how they proved that the shoe print at the crime scene was Raffaele's, but in fact, it was indeed Rudy Gaday's shoe print, but that seemingly did not matter. They were twisting evidence to fit their narrative. They wanted Amanda. They wanted Raffaele. They got them. So even though footprints that didn't match, they were somebody else's clearly, they were still putting it on both of them. Amanda talks about how Rudy Gaday changed his initial story from when he said Amanda wasn't there to now stating Amanda was there, and that her and Meredith hated each other and the fight was about money. Now you're trying to tell me after his fast-track trial, Rudy Gaday couldn't have been promised anything, something, to make his life in prison easier if he agreed to say whatever it was the prosecution wanted him to allegedly say. If he agreed to turn on Amanda, he was probably given a lot of perks in prison, maybe even told he would be released early. So there's many possibilities and so many reasons to explain why Rudy would change his story now and turn on Amanda. It was what the prosecution wanted him to do. He wanted his life in prison to be easier, so he agreed. Allegedly. That's exactly what I think probably happened when Rudy Gaday changed his story after his fast-track trial. He was probably promised perks, something to make his life easier in prison. Who knows? You're in prison. You're going to take anything. You're going there anywhere for an extended period of time. So why not do whatever it is that you can do to make life easier for you? The government, the lawyers, the prosecution, the state offered him something allegedly to make it easier for him to turn on Amanda Knox. And he accepted. That's, in my opinion, a 100% believable scenario. Because why would he say to his friend earlier that Amanda had nothing to do with it, and then change his story after he started talking to the prosecution? It's a little bit fishy if you ask me. Well, that's where I'm going to leave part 5 of my Amanda Knox waiting to be heard book review. You can get it on Amazon, bookstores, anywhere. Make sure you follow Amanda on all of her social platforms. Everything is linked in the description below, so you can go have a view for yourself. She's a great Twitter follow. She's a great Instagram follow. And also support her Patreon account. Support the author. She has a podcast, and she gives special perks to people that subscribe to her Patreon. So definitely do that as well. Hope you're all having a great day, and I'll see you again soon.